blocked by McDonald on the flea flicker cost the Browns a touchdown because the receiver was running wide open. If Hoyer had one more second to get that ball off, that's a touchdown. It would have been absolutely wide open, but Cushing blew through McDonald and was there and was able to rush that throw. But, man, he leveled Hoyer a couple of good times. That one was really, really, really nasty. But again, that's that push up front. I'm telling you, I was wondering what the deal was with Hoyer when he tripped on the one play. How about the one where he fell? The lineman tripped him, and then he got up. They actually protected him enough. He was able to get up and then find the guy. That one I kind of dug, but there was nowhere near enough of that. They were all over the place. The pushback and the Browns running game, while the stats will, and this is where stats are what they are, while the stats won't look as terrible as they're going to sound here, what I'm going to tell you is you had one really good run by the Crow, and the rest of them averaged a yard a carry. So at the end of the day, it changes the way it looks absolutely. You know, you hear it, you go, oh, okay, well, you know, not the best day for the Browns, 60 yards rushing. Well, that's not good as it is, let alone the fact that 35 of that came on one carry. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Al Blue from LSU went to town, stepped right in for Ray Jennings over there for the Texans, and there was no drop-off. It makes me scared to wonder what would have happened if Arian Foster had played. Perhaps he would have got 200 yards there. But Browns' rush defense has already been an issue all season long. We know that. Doesn't help when you lose more guys in the interior there. You lose more of your fronts. I mean, I was at one point going, do they have any more defensive linemen to put in the game? Fu is already playing more snaps than he should be playing. Kitchen, who else is left? Because they're really down thin, and you lose Dansby and Sheard there both. Again, I told you guys at the beginning of the show, I'm very worried about Dansby because when they're non-committal about things and talking about the MRI, usually that means you got some stuff to worry about. But there may be something on that even before this one's over, before we get rolling any deeper with the show. And as soon as I hear something, I'll have it. Again, with Sheard, looking like it may be the dreaded high ankle sprain, which is, those can be short-term or long-term there. But, that just thins you out even more, makes it even harder. I get it. I know nobody's writing a sympathy card. It's next man up. But the next man up at some point is not as strong as the man before. And the third, fourth, and fifth next man up on the defensive line, luckily they have a position of such depth. Could you imagine? Seriously? We talked at the beginning of the year about the depth up front. Could you imagine if they didn't have that? Well, I would be scared to even think what kind of rush defense and pressure on the quarterback, because that was non-existent yesterday too. One of the reasons Ryan Mallett was able to get comfortable and sit back there and do his thing is because we let him get comfortable. I mean, was he under pressure? How much? I mean, a handful of times in the whole game. I mean, Ryan Mallett was able to do his thing, and Browns and meanwhile, the Texans, back to that up front in the trenches, they're getting pressure with three guys on certain plays, man. I mean, I'll tell you what, just in the trenches, they absolutely dominated the Browns across the boards. And I could point to a few places where, I'll be honest with you, the Browns still, this game was a win. All of that. This game was a winnable game. I can tell you easily, and I'm sure you guys know it. To me, the key moments that swung thing, obviously the first one would be what's really a 14-point swing is Isaiah Crowell. And this is what's frustrating to guys like you and me, and because I know a lot of you guys hit me up every day with your love for Isaiah Crowell and frustration for not seeing him out there, but he put the ball on the ground a couple of times. They pulled him back. Now they give him the start, which I believe we're seeing problems just emerge here with Ben Tate. 2 rushes, -9 yards yesterday. Clearly he could not have been happy that he didn't get the start against his former team, and they give it to the Crow instead. And he goes out there, and like I said, he had the 35-yarder, and you're thinking, okay, maybe we're going to have a good day running the ball here, because it looked like they may. And the team's driving down the field. Remember, it was a 7-7 game at that point. This was it second quarter, I believe? And Browns are driving. Looked like, okay, they're putting something together. They were running that little mini no huddle, getting some things moving. What happens? Crow and it was literally the second after they put the graphic on the screen. You guys saw that. They put the graphic on the screen that said 99 possessions in a row or 99 plays in the red zone, whatever it was, that the Browns had not had a turnover in the red zone. And what happens? The very next play, fumble by Isaiah Crowell, and boom, 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 right down the field, 3 passes, comes Houston. The third one, which led to the touchdown, was, again, just one of those things that, what can you do about it? Referees part of the field of play. Craig Robertson had a bead, most likely was at worst, a drop or a knockdown. At best, it was probably an interception. He had a direct bead on the pass that ended up going to Graham for the touchdown. He gets screened off by the referee. I mean, again, they're the field of play, so there's no complaining. There's nothing you can do about that. But I mean, when they showed it back, I wondered how. I said, man, it looked like on the quick play, it looked like Robertson had it, and then they go back to the replay, and you saw what happened. And what can you do about it? But boom, that's a 14-point swing. The Browns are going in on one end. 4 plays later, here comes Houston down on the other end, touchdown. They take the lead there. Then you can go a little bit later in the second half. They're regressing offensively because now Houston knew they got the lead. They're going to town. Boom. They're going to dial it up on defense, and they're going to now pin their ears back and try to see if they can get out of here with the win. They don't care. They were trying to leave with the ugly, gritty victory. Browns looking for a spark, and it was like, Bruce just said the announcer curse. How about the opposite? When you get what you're looking for, as I'm watching the game, I said we need something. I said let's act like the kickoff and the punt returns are not optional here. And I literally said it right after we got the stop or whatever it was. Here comes the kickoff. That's what it was. They kicked the field goal, and boom, Marlon Moore takes off. Bam, 103-yard kick return. Here goes the flag. It gets called back. Not enough people were even mad about that one because they were complaining about other things from the game. But right there, huge momentum sucked out of the life of the stadium. Luckily, I didn't get too sucked into it because the flag blew right across the TV screen. Otherwise, we would have been watching it and then been like the people in the stadium that sat there and went, what just happened? Because they went nuts because, boom, there you go. Just like as you need it. Here comes the kick return to give you a little bit of life when you're struggling, because that's what you need. When your offense isn't happening, man, you got to get it from somewhere. And the defense was getting taxed, and there you go. That gets called back, and again, just kind of it went from there. And then you had you had a couple. I'm not going to really hammer down at the end. Miles Austin, yeah, he didn't complete the pass, but it wouldn't matter. If Miles Austin would have caught that pass on 4th down, there was the chop block on the play anyways with the running back and the lineman there that would have ended up having that one thrown back. And the other one, yeah, it bounced off the receiver and the guy intercepted it. That was last gasp stuff there. Really, that stuff didn't make a difference in the tail of the game either way. But the game by that point was told, man. And JJ Watt was all over the place. He had of course, he had the touchdown reception, which was iffy. But, it's not like the Browns lost by a touchdown. If they did, then we could be complaining about that one. But they didn't, so don't even worry about it. But, yeah, he catches the pass. And then he had the strip. And then he had the sack, and he was all over the place. J.J. Watt was just absolutely, and even, like I said, on the plays that he wasn't on, he was still affecting guys. It didn't matter whether you run towards him, whether you run the play away from him, whatever. And he's got some great complimentary pieces, really, with him. And then Clowney, you saw him in on some stuff. I mentioned Cushing many times being able to get in there. You can see, and you guys can see, if anybody is sitting here after that game going, yeah, man, how you lose to a bad team like Houston, then you don't know what a bad team is. I'm going to tell you now, I'm not saying that Houston is a Super Bowl team. I mentioned it on Friday. They're a team that was definitely not the worst team in the league last year to end up with the number 1 pick. It was one of those things like that year Indianapolis did it, and they were able to pick up the number 1 pick. They get luck, and then they jumped right back to where they were before Peyton Manning went down. Houston was maybe not as far along as the Colts, but close enough to it. As you can see here, they lead the league in turnovers. After being last in the league last year, that defense had injuries, and they did not do what they had to do last year. And I'll tell you, Mallett, too. I don't know what he's going to do, but, for the first day he gave them what they needed. Hell, you don't need anything out of your quarterback. If Al Blue from LSU is going to go out there and give you 36 carries, he set a record for the for the franchise for Houston, not just for a rookie. At first, he had the rookie record, and then he ran the ball a dozen more times in the second half, ended up with the Texans record for most rushing attempts in a game. He had 36 for a $156, just grinding away, and only a long of 21, But Crow, 14 of 61 for the Browns, 35 for the long. Other than that, nothing much happened. And Terrence West, very disappointing day for him. 5 carries, only 12 yards. And I mentioned definitely what happened with Tate as well. Just didn't even get into the flow of the game. Had only a couple of carries for negative yardage. Nothing really happened in there. Brian Hoyer, 20 of 50. There was a lot of misconnections out there. There was issues with a lot of it is pass rush related. He had 330 yards. It was a high, but that's, those are the whatever stats. Not really a big deal. Not into that or anything like that. Had a touchdown, had the interception late in the game. Had 2 sacks on the record, but definitely could have had more. Got himself out of trouble on a couple of plays where he definitely could have been taken down, but that defense was all over him on so many different plays. He's got to do better. I'll say this. Here's where I'm at with Brian Hoyer, and I think this is probably the most fair thing you could say. He didn't cost the Browns the game, but he was every bit as guilty as everybody else in why they didn't win it. I mean, to me, there is no, hey, you one person, go stand in the corner. To me, all of you, go stand in the corner for the things that happened yesterday. But it is, you know what? To me, and again, I'm not woe is me. Sorry, guys. I'm not be all end all here. Let's just act like this was the end of the season and the worst thing ever, man. The Browns lost to a team that, in my opinion, I'll tell you, here they sit, 500 on the season. Let's see what happens. Tell me if 6 weeks from now, Houston's not in that wild card conversation, because their defense is strong. They lead the league in takeaways. They've got a 1-2 punch with, obviously, Blue can play, but you've got Arian Foster, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL. If Ryan Mallett cannot turn the ball over for the next 6 weeks coming down the stretch, how much do you want to bet Houston perhaps ends up in that conversation for the playoffs by the time this thing comes down the stretch? So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this game. And you know what? I'm going to get the break in here. I'm going to get John McMullen in on this conversation, and we'll get his thoughts as well, because when you start to look around the other scores of the league, I'm telling you, man, here we go again. Cincinnati coming off what they did. They crushed New Orleans. Denver lose. I'm telling you, that was one I would have lost money on if you'd asked me to bet it. Not that I've got that much against. I mean, St. Louis has already beaten San Francisco and Seattle already this season, so you got to give them their due. But they just made the switch back. They were still fumbling around with the kind of like in the Browns situation with the multiple different quarterbacks. Running backs. Is it Cunningham? Is it going to be Zach Stacy? Or, well, here's Trey Mason, and he's the young guy, but he hasn't gotten enough reps yet, and boom, they go do what they did. Here you go again with that. So we're going to get into all of that, and we're going to talk to John McMullen from the Sports Network. Let's see where he's at with this and the Browns. We'll talk more about the game, and I agree with the comment I just saw in the chat room. How about maybe the play of the season, just because, man, give that man, you want to give out dog collars with bones? Spencer Lanning better have a dog collar today. That's all I'm going to say, because he manned up on that terrible snap. I mean, you talk about just everybody sucking at the same time, even the crazy snap, that's just where you go, wow, this is what we're doing today, guys. This is what we're doing. Okay. But Spencer Lanning, he said, you know what? Watch what I do. Watch what I do. That man went old school NFL. He ran around and drop kicked that ball and saved his life and saved the Browns for that moment in time, because look at that. You're looking at Houston ending up with the ball probably within the 15 or 10-yard line, and instead, that man gets that ball off the midfield, basically, man, with the drop kick, baby. I love it. Spencer Lanning, somebody give that man a dog collar. That's all I'm saying. All right, guys, we're going to talk more about this, and I know somebody's probably tuning in right now going, what do you mean? You mean this guy's not railing and ranting and this guy's not falling? Look, the Browns stunk yesterday, and they lost a football game. They're 6-4. They're 2 games over 500. I'm good. I'm not happy. Shit, that game was miserable yesterday. But the Browns are 6-4 through 10 games. let's talk about what's next, because there's 6 games left. I'm not going to sit here and do that. I mean, how many of you had all the people that are ranting and raving right now had them winning 3 games all season long? I'm going to leave it right